Welcome back to the channel, my YouTube family. How are you doing today? And we're back in a little bit more of Xdefiant. And what I thought I'd do today is I'm going to give you a very kind of detailed breakdown of the game and the build that we have for the beta. I'll take you through all kinds of stuff like the maps and the modes, the interface, the factions and the loadouts, and just give you a fairly detailed view of how the game works. I'm not going to give you my opinions today as such. I will do a further feedback video once the beta is finished with my final thoughts. I'm also going to roll out some gameplay videos for you in the coming weeks so that you can get a real feel for how the game plays without any interrupted background noise from me, and hopefully once we get to the end of all that you'll have a good overview of how the game's going to go. So okay, over to the Creation Center at Gaming for XP headquarters, and let's dig into Xdefiant. Let's do it! So welcome to Xdefiant, which has a whole lot of things that you're going to have to learn over time, and let me tell you, it is quite a steep learning curve when you first play the game. We have 4 factions with 16 unique abilities available. 4 game modes in the beta. There were supposed to be 5. There's supposed to be a kill confirmed, but I haven't seen that show up yet. So 4 game modes, and we'll get in that in a while. 14 maps and 24 weapons with 44 attachments in total. So a lot to get your head around. So where to start? So why don't we start at the interface, and then we will dig a little deeper into the game. Sounds good, let's do it. Okay, so let us start by having a look at the Xdefiant interface, at least the interface we have for the beta at this point, and then we'll expand from there. So, as you can see, the interface is pretty clean. You have your kind of menus up the top there. You have some menus you can flick through here, which I'm not sure what they're going to use those for in the future, but at this point you're really just connecting to Ubisoft Connect. If you're a Ubisoft player and you haven't signed up for Ubisoft Connect, it's well worth doing. You get all kinds of rewards for playing their games. Obviously the play button, which we'll get to in a minute, and live now, which is basically just a news feed. You can see here it's just talking a little bit about the beta and whatnot. So pretty simple. Along the top here you've obviously got the what we'd call a battle pass or rewards track, and we'll talk about that in a little bit of detail in a while. Shows you your factions, and then it shows you your loadouts, and again we'll get into this in a little bit more detail in a while. If you press down on your left stick, you can see all your friends that are online, depending on what platform you're on. And also this is, I guess, where you party up with people and stuff like that. And then if you press your right stick, you get into the settings. Pretty simple interface. I like it. It's very smooth, very kind of easy to navigate, which has not always been the case with Ubisoft games, I got to tell you. And yeah, it's quite pleasant, and hopefully they don't make too many changes to this. I think it's just enough to kind of get your head around and get you moving forward pretty quickly. So okay, why don't we dive into the factions first, have a look at those, and then we'll talk about loadouts and maps and modes beyond. Before we get started today, apologies, I'm still a little bit sick, so my voice is not the best, but we'll muddle through. So let's flick across to the factions screen now, and we'll do a bit of a deep dive. Okay, so here we are in the factions screen, and as you can tell, the different factions are actually taken from different Ubisoft games. So we have the Cleaners from The Division, we have the Phantoms from Ghost Recon, Libertad from Far Cry 6, Echelon, obviously, Splinter Cell, and then DedSec from Watch Dogs, which is not available in this build of the game, but obviously there is going to be the scope to add more factions in the future, and also more operators, because each of these factions only have 3 operators at this point. Now, what I noticed last night, what I figured out last night, is there's no perks, no personal perks in this system like you would find in a Call of Duty game, so you're heavily reliant on the factions for giving you a boost. There's also no score streaks in this game, so the kind of specialized operator system is where it's at, which I don't mind. It's kind of point of difference. The fact that they've taken them out of different Ubisoft games I like, and also the fact that the maps are out of different Ubisoft games, or at least influenced by different Ubisoft games I like. So we'll do a quick deep dive into this in a sec, but needless to say, any of the special abilities that each of these specialists have can be counteracted against with different factions. So you can counteract all these abilities by using a different faction. Also, you can change if you're playing in game and you're not quite feeling the faction isn't working for you, you can change it basically straight away, and when you respawn the faction will change. Also, different factions are designed for different game modes in this game, so we'll dive into that in a little bit more detail in a bit, but let's just dive into a few of these and show you what you get. So we'll click on these, and obviously you have 3 operators per faction. So you can see we have green here, DeRosa and Kersey, and I'll flick through these very quickly so you can see them. So if you want to screenshot the abilities and stuff, you can. So if I use this is an example, you can see there are 4 different abilities assigned to the various operators here for the cleaners, and you get to pick which faction you want at the start of the game. But as I said, you can switch these out during playing the game, so it's not a major drama. We'll click through the phantoms very quickly. You can see we have Singer, Rhino and Gorgon. And here you go, here's their special abilities right there. These guys are pretty good. Libertard and Echelon were the ones that I saw most playing the beta. There you go, there's their special abilities, and we have Beto, Celestia and Zelda. And then we have obviously the Echelon Splinter Cell faction of Rafa, Melee and Samir. And again, here are their special abilities. So quite nice way to approach the game. Point of difference over a lot of shooters, but not something we haven't seen in the past. And let me tell you, there's a huge learning curve trying to figure out how to counter some of these abilities, and I think that's what's going to really keep you playing this game for a while. No doubt, as this game launches and as people get into it and as things get refined, we'll figure out the best factions for different game types, and the best abilities per faction, etc, and how to counteract them and all kinds of stuff. So that's all coming down the line. I don't really want to get into that too much today, because I just want to give you an overview of the bones of the game. So I really like this. I really like this approach by Ubisoft towards Xdefiant. So there was a number of videos that were put out in conjunction with the beta opening up, and in those videos they were kind of alluding to the fact that with the factions, kind of the cleaners and the phantoms were much more akin to arena style game modes, and then you know, the stealthy play style of Echelon and the health benefits of Libertard were much more akin to the linear style of game modes. I've got to say, having played the game, I didn't really find that. I find people just mixing and matching the different factions and trying to figure out which one suited them. And with different game modes, certainly playing around with different factions is worth doing, and changing the factions depending on what you're doing within those different game modes also will give you a benefit, you know, mixing and matching. And I think that's the beauty of this game, is the fact that it allows you to do that, and you can just play the game how you like. I've been somebody that traditionally would find a specialist and stick with it. I think in this game you'll probably have to mix and match those a little bit more than you normally do. So okay, so now let's move on to the weapons in this game. We'll walk you through the loadouts, how the loadouts work, all the attachments that are available, etc. And I'll talk a little bit about the gunplay, because it's pretty important in an FPS shooter. G4 certainly is. Let's have a look at that and see what you think. So for me, I'm pretty much an AR SMG kind of guy, but as you can see, there are several options in the loadout screen, and it's the pretty traditional gun set or gun weapon variety that you would expect to see in any kind of first-person shooter. So you can see you've got 10 loadout slots here. You also got here, and I can't access them at the moment, but you have, when you start the game, you've got kind of just burned in loadouts that you can pick from that have all the attachments already chosen for you. These are the ones once you get to a certain level. I'm not sure what level you have to get to unlock the loadouts, but once you do get to the level to unlock the loadouts, this is the kind of screen that you're going to see, and then you can start customizing each of your weapons. So you only have 5 attachments per weapon. You obviously have a primary and a secondary gun, and you can also choose your devices, as they call it, i.e. sticky grenades, proximity mines, flashbangs, etc. And I would expect these will change as we go on. They'll probably get more options in the full build of the game. Maybe not. I don't think you really need too many of these. You only have one option, which is, I think, your right bumper, and your left bumper is your ability for your faction. And so the various weapon classes, obviously you have 4 ARs, which are pretty standard, 4 SMGs, 3 shotguns here, 3 LMGs. Haven't actually started playing around. I actually haven't got much further than the assault rifles and SMGs, so I really should. Marksman rifles, not sure how I feel about marksman and sniper rifles, but I guess it's covering all the different play styles. So your SVD, the TAC 50s here, so all the normal stuff that you would expect to see in the game. The good thing I like about the way that they've kind of tailored this, and I'll use the ACR as an example here. When you get into your attachments, you'll see right on in that far bottom right corner, as you change the attachments here, these little arrows change. And you can see the effect that each of these attachments is having on your weapon. And as you can see, as you would normally expect in a lot of first-person shooters these days, every time you put an attachment on your gun, there is going to be a buff to your weapon, and with some of these, there's going to be a negative for using that attachment. 5 attachments in total that you can add to your gun. And you obviously have the different categories of muzzle, barrel, front rail, optics, magazine, rear grip, and stock. So mix and match these as you like. Pick the attachments you like. Now, I've got to say, you're going to see, if I flick through some of these weapons, you're going to see that a lot of those attachments are exactly the same. And I just kind of got to a point where, with the attachments on this gun, I got to a point where I found attachments that worked for me and just stuck with them for the majority of my guns. And you can see the detailed stats, which is really, really nice. I like this. I like the fact that you can bring up detailed stats. You can filter attachments, no attachments, just optics, and so on. It's really, really nice. A lot of detail to go into, and you can really start to drill down and find the setup that works for you in weapons. So, to the most important thing in this game, I guess, is the gunplay. How does this all work in game, G4? You know, you've showed us the mechanism for building your guns, but how is the gunplay? I think the time to kill is fine. It is quite quick. And you can just get eviscerated off the map pretty quickly in this game. It took me a long time of playing around with settings and different attachments to get to a point where I was comfortable, and that's pretty normal for a new FPS game or any kind of shooter or any kind of game, is to try and get your settings to a point where it works for you. And I think you're going to find when you first put this game up, you're going to have to do a lot of that. It probably took me a good, I don't know, a couple hours, 10, 12 games to get the settings to where I like them to be for me personally. Get figure out the attachments and what I needed to use. Incidentally, you're going to have to play the game. As you play the game, you'll start to open up your attachments. Luckily, Ubisoft, after some of the server issues they had, opened up all the attachments to us on about day 4 or 5, and so that we can play around with all different kind of combinations, which I think was a really good idea for them. And so what you see is not what you're going to get when you're playing the game. You're going to have to unlock attachments by playing the game and leveling up, which is pretty normal for any kind of game like this. And also, even once you've leveled up, for instance, an optic, you can still continue to make that optic stronger, and that optic, by using it on your gun, will get stronger and get more abilities on it. So that's all quite nice. They've done a really, really nice job of the whole weapon setup, the variety of weapons. The time to kill is good, and just, you know, making sure that you have a good amount of kind of customization for the various players and playstyles that you're going to come across. Completely available to you as you work through the game, and therefore you're going to be rewarded for playing the game, and you're going to obviously get stronger and stronger as the game goes on as a player, and you're going to be able to tailor everything to exactly how you want to play this game. So all big ticks there. So I think the last thing I'm going to talk about today is maps and modes, and then I'm going to go and have a wee rest. So Ubisoft talk about 2 distinct play modes or game modes in this game, and they talk about a linear type game mode and an arena type game mode. So let's dive into that a little bit deeper, and I'll explain it as best I can. So here we go. Once you get to the to actually boot up the game and play, you go to the play modes, individual modes and playlists, and then you're going to come to this screen. Now, I would expect them to add more game modes here, but essentially I'll talk about the linear and versus the arena modes now. So escort and zone control are regarded as linear modes. So basically you have a starting point. You're either going to be attacking or defending, and you have to make it to an end point. So you go from A to Z basically. One team will be attacking and trying to complete the mission, so to speak, and the other team, the opposing team, will be trying to stop you completing your mission and getting to the end point. So I haven't played escort yet, but I've played zone control. Zone control for me is the best game mode in the game. I really had so much fun playing this game mode. You have to basically capture 5 points on the map, and you have a time, you're under a time crunch to capture various zones, and you have to capture up to 5 zones. Had a huge amount of fun playing that. And then you get into the arena based modes, which is domination, which you have to basically capture points and hold them, and occupy is basically hard point for Call of Duty, which again, That is, even though you're playing occupied and you have to capture a point, the point's moving. Pretty standard stuff. So it's interesting that they've mixed them up, and they've kind of tried to tailor some of the factions towards these different modes. I don't think it makes a huge amount of difference, to be quite honest. I think as far as the factions, as I said earlier, you can play whatever faction you like in the different modes. Ranked play is also coming later down the track, so once you learn the game, and if you want to get more competitive and play some of the better players, you'll be able to hop into rank mode and be able to work through that. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to be structured, and again, I'm not sure why they've gone down the route of having these kind of very definitive different game styles. I think it's fine as it is. I don't really need to have this kind of arena versus linear type thing. It all works if it's a good game and it's got a good map. It's going to be fun. There's 14 maps to play on, and I got to tell you, I've played for a lot of hours and I still haven't got through all of the maps. The maps are fantastic. They're very bright, vibrant, colourful. They remind me a lot of Treyarch maps to some regard, but there's all kinds of different styles, and a lot of them are influenced by various Ubisoft games, which is really nice. So they have a level of familiarity about them if you are a person who plays a lot of Ubisoft games. And yeah, it's just I find the environment very fun to be in. Is it the best kind of environment you've ever been in FPS graphically? No. But it really doesn't matter. I like the feel and the vibe of the maps and just getting in and playing around, and it is just a lot of fun, to be honest. So there you go, guys. There is the breakdown on Xdefiant. I hope it gives you a good overview of what this game's about, what all the different kind of nooks and crannies look like at this point in the beta. I'm sure this will change before launch. Not sure when the launch is going to be at this point, but it is a heck of a lot of a fun game. And if you're looking for something that's an alternative to Call of Duty, like I said in the last video, you could do worse than have a play around with this. It's going to be free to play, and I think it offers a great deal of value and a great many hours in trying to perfect the game. If you enjoyed this video, a like rating's always appreciated. I love hearing your comments. I'd love to hear your own experiences if you have been lucky enough to play the beta and what you found and what you think. And we'll catch you next time on the channel. See ya.